A poltergeist trapped me in my cellar. The heavy oak door didn't just close. It slammed. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was thick, and it was watching me. I thought the scratching sounds were trying to get in. I was wrong. They were making sure I couldn't get out. Section 1. The setup and the false sense of security. This house was old. Not the charming historic kind, but the kind of old that feels tired, its bones groaning under the weight of too many winters. We bought it for a song, a big Victorian relic on the edge of town nobody else wanted. Now I know why. It had a cellar, and that's where this whole thing really begins. Honestly, the cellar wasn't even that spooky at first. It was just a basement, damp, smelling of dirt and stone, with a single, naked bulb hanging from a frayed cord. It was cluttered with the junk of people who'd lived here before, rusted paint cans, old newspapers yellowed with age, and a few pieces of forgotten furniture hiding under white sheets. And the door to the cellar, that thing was a character in itself. A monster slab of dark oak with a heavy iron latch. It was the kind of door you'd expect to see on a castle dungeon, not a suburban house. It always took a good, solid shove to get it open. I'd only gone down there for a box of old photo albums my wife wanted. It was a normal Tuesday afternoon. I remember sunlight was streaming through the kitchen window when I pulled the cellar door open, the wood groaning. I flicked on the dim bulb, casting long, dancing shadows, and headed down the creaky wooden stairs. The air got cold, fast, the way it always does underground. I found the box, tucked it under my arm, and turned to go. A 5-minute job, that's all it was meant to be. Then it happened. A sudden, violent slam echoed through the cellar, so loud it felt like a punch. The light from the kitchen vanished, plunging me into a thick, soupy darkness. The only light left was the pathetic glow from the bulb over my head, and then the unmistakable sound of the heavy latch clicking shut. Final. I just stood there for a second, stunned. My first thought wasn't fear, it was annoyance. A gust of wind, I muttered, even though I knew the kitchen windows were closed. I walked up and pushed on the door. It didn't move. I put my shoulder into it, digging into the solid oak. Nothing. "Hey!" I called out, my voice sounding tiny. "Honey, was that you? It's not funny." Silence. I tried again, louder this time. "All right, joke's over. Let me out." The only answer was the faint hum of the old freezer in the corner. I sighed, getting more frustrated than scared. The latch must have slipped. It's an old house, full of quirks. I just kept telling myself that. I was just stuck for a bit. My wife would be home in an hour or so. Annoying, but not the end of the world. I couldn't have been more wrong. Section 2. The escalation and the realization. Time gets weird when you're in the dark. I have no idea how long I sat there on the steps, waiting. 10 minutes? An hour? It was then that I heard it, a soft, dry scratching from the other side of the door. Scrap, scratch. Relief washed over me. It was my wife, home early, trying to get a rise out of me. "Okay, you got me," I called out, smiling. "Very funny. Now open up." The scratching stopped, but the door didn't open. A cold knot started twisting in my gut. "Hello." My voice was shaky now. "Is someone there?" The silence that answered was deeper this time, heavier. The lack of a response was way worse than the sound had been. I pressed my ear to the cold wood. Nothing. Just the pounding of my own heart. I waited, every nerve screaming. Then a new sound began. A whisper. It was so faint at first, I thought I was making it up. A soft, hissing sound, like sand pouring onto the floor. It wasn't coming from the door, but from the darkest corner of the cellar. I held my breath, straining to hear. It wasn't a language I knew, just a string of guttural, wet sounds, that made the hair on my arms stand on end. It was a voice, but it wasn't human. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice cracking. The whispering stopped, and then a sound that made my blood freeze. From the other side of the room, in the deep shadows, something heavy was being dragged across the concrete, a piece of furniture. I remembered seeing an old armchair over there, covered in a sheet. My eyes darted toward the darkness, but I couldn't see a thing past the weak glow of the light bulb. Real panic, hot and sharp, finally kicked in. This wasn't a prank. The part of my brain that was trying to explain it all away finally just quit. The scratching outside the door, I realized, was a trick. It was a diversion. It wasn't trying to get in. It was trying to keep my attention on the door, to make me think the threat was out there. But it wasn't. The threat was in here with me. My breath caught in my chest. The air grew frigid, and I could feel a static charge on my skin, a prickling sensation all over. Then I saw it. An old paint can on a shelf wobbled, lifted an inch into the air, and then shot across the room, smashing into the wall a few feet from my head. It hit with a wet smack, spraying dried, rust-colored flakes everywhere. I screamed, not a shout for help, just a raw animal sound of pure terror. I scrambled back up the stairs, pounding on the door with both fists. "Let me out! Please, somebody, let me out!" I yelled until my throat was raw. The response was a whisper, but this time it was right behind me, directly in my ear. It was a clear, cold voice, like ice dragging across stone, and this time I understood the word. Join. Section 3, the climax and the escape. I spun around, tumbling down the last few steps and landing hard on the concrete floor. There was nothing there, just empty, suffocating darkness. But I felt it, the cold breath on the back of my neck. The cellar had focused all of its energy on me. The single light bulb started to flicker. On, off, on, off. Each flash burned a new horror into my brain. In one flash, the white sheet on the armchair blew upwards, like someone had just stood up. In the next, a stack of newspapers flew into the air, pages scattering like mad birds. In another, a man-shaped shadow pulled away from the wall, impossibly tall and thin. It wasn't just moving things anymore. It was trying to show itself. My mind started to break. I was just crawling backward on the gritty floor, away from the flickering strobe light, babbling. "Please, what do you want? Just leave me alone." The whispering started again, but now it was coming from all around me. A whole chorus of them, hissing and overlapping. They weren't speaking words so much as pouring feelings into my head. Feelings of loneliness, of the cold earth, of the people who had died in this house. They were telling me it was my turn. The house didn't want me to leave. It wanted to add me to its history, another story buried in the foundation. It wanted me to join its collection. The light bulb finally popped, showering me in glass and absolute darkness. The freezer in the corner went silent. I was in total blackness now, the kind that feels like it's pressing on your eyes. I could hear it moving, a soft, shuffling sound, getting closer. I felt a touch on my ankle, colder than ice, with a grip that was shockingly strong. I kicked out, screaming, and scrambled away blindly until my back hit the cold stone wall. I was cornered. I curled into a ball, my arms over my head, and just waited for it to end. The shuffling stopped right in front of me. I could feel a dense spot of absolute cold where it stood. This was it, and then a sound from above, a metallic clink. My head snapped up. It was the iron latch on the cellar door. It lifted slowly, and then the door creaked open a few inches. A sliver of golden afternoon sunlight cut through the blackness like a sword. I didn't ask why. I didn't hesitate. I lurched to my feet and I ran. I scrambled up those stairs, not daring to look back, fully expecting a hand to grab my leg at any second. I threw my body through the opening, tumbling onto the warm kitchen floor, gasping for air like I'd just been pulled from underwater. I slammed the oak door shut and fumbled with the latch until it was locked tight. I just stood there, panting, shaking, and listening. From the other side of the door, there was only silence. The house was quiet again. Too quiet. Conclusion, the aftermath. My wife found me an hour later, still huddled on the kitchen floor. I tried to explain, but it all came out a jumbled, hysterical mess. She didn't believe me, of course. She thought I just panicked after getting locked in. We called a locksmith who said the old latch was prone to slipping. He had no explanation for how it unlocked itself. We sold the house a month later. We took a big loss. We never told the new owners why. I couldn't. I never went into that cellar again. For years, I couldn't even stand in a basement or a dark room without feeling this suffocating panic. I know what happened down there wasn't a faulty latch or my imagination. Sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I can still hear it. That soft, hissing whisper right at the edge of my hearing. I know that thing in the cellar didn't let me go. It just opened the door. It knows it can be patient. It has all the time in the world, and it's just waiting for me to come back. Because a part of me never left that cellar. It's still down there in the dark, waiting to join. If you've ever had an experience you just can't explain, I want to hear about it in the comments. This is my story, and it's a good reminder that some doors are better left shut. If you want to hear more stories like this, make sure to like and subscribe. It tells me you want more, and honestly, it helps to know I'm not the only one checking over my shoulder in the dark.